From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021 direct from Santa Monica, California. And in this recording, we go over the incredible news about the fourth stimulus check and that recon. A deal reached last Friday that sends this recon to a rubber stamp vote, which within days. Could that vote be within the next 48 hours? We will see. The price tag, no one really knows. And they don't really care. What's going on with that? Then we turn to the programs in, programs out. Lots of programs across all these incredible clusters of checks. These programs collectively will pay you about $15,000 of checks across these incredible recon. Then student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven across the board. I have all the latest details in this recording by executive order. And then fifth stimulus coming right behind that. After that COLA raise, it's a big, bold, beautiful morning as we set the pump, the spike. And here we go in for the smash. There we go. And it's a big morning's broadcast. I'm here. You're here. The bacon is here? No, not so much. Need to do a voter-wama for the bacon. The toast is toast and the butter is butter, and I'm here, you're here. We got a big, bold, beautiful new day with us, and the excitement starts right now on a big new Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day and hope weather is good where you are. Jump on the live chat and tell me how the weather is where you are. Well, a deal has been reached with that recon. That means the vote could happen within 48 hours, potentially, if not next week. And that vote signals the finish line. It is a rubber stamp vote with a price undetermined for the recon, but it's at least 1.75, if not higher. And the programs in, programs out are incredible. In this recording, we'll go over those incredible programs that'll pay you across all of them at least about $15,000. Then we turn to the incredible details direct from Santa Monica this morning about your student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven across the board. Whose debts are coming up next? And that COLA raise as well. This stimulus right behind it. It's a big, bold, beautiful recording. I'm excited you're here as a new day is upon us. And this, my friends, is Mornings LALATE. America's most talked about financial news channel in America. 16 shows per day, hundreds of hours of programming per week. All new, all on the hour, all on the moment, and all with our finger on the button. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and 140 million views in a year and a half. A YouTube record. Like this video and consider becoming a member. In this recording, we have a lot. Let me give you a roadmap of what we're covering in today's recording. First, we will be going over broadly what this recon pays you. Program by program. Then after the commercial break, we'll come back and go over that deal reach in the House last Friday. It's great between the moderate and the progressive Democrats. We'll be going over what's happening next for the vote in the next few days and the Senate thereafter. Then get that pen and paper ready because we're going to go over all the big money. Check after check. Program after program with me answering your questions on air. It's a great recording and we're going to start right now. When third stimulus became a law and we looked at third stimulus, I told viewers this channel I can get you about $15,000 across all the incredible programs that passed in that third stimulus earlier this year. What happened thereafter is that the average viewer of this channel got an average about $45,000 of checks across that incredible third stimulus. All those programs in third stimulus are returning, and there's other programs that pay other checks on top of that, which brings us to at least about $15,000 of incredible checks you can get across all these programs of that recon. I'm going to go over all of them and the eligibility for you right now. And we're going to start with the first of three classes and the three add-ons. Remember, this is the House bill. It's not going to get changed before the House vote. And it's important to understand that if I say hard cold cash or upfront, it means right in your hand as a check. Back end means you have to do something. Let's go to the first cluster. And everything that passed in that subcommittee of the House is getting passed in the House floor. Hazard pay is in there. That is back end cash. And that That is the earned income tax credit for my essential workers for one more year. $4,000 of elder care got in there, and that is upfront hard cold cash. Then money for the young children as well. $550 for the Pell's grant for my college students, hard cold cash. And then also money for the repairs of that home in the low-income community, hard cold cash. The CTC done for one more year. The child tax credit, $3,600 or $3,000. That is hard cold cash. And then $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric car, U.S. auto manufacturer. That is back end. Wow. Everything in that first cluster passed in the House subcommittee is going to a House vote and will be passed as well. The first add-on came from Maxine Waters. You know which one it was. And guess what? She got it in there. It is a game changer. It's not going to be $25,000, which she wanted, but it is in there. And it is the first home purchase price. For people who have make their first home purchase, you will get a check from you to the seller and paid by the federal government. This is first-time home buyers will get a hard cold cash check made payable to the seller during the escrow period. It is incredible. More about this later in this video. Stay with me. We got a lot coming up. We go to the second cluster of checks. Here we go. In the second cluster of checks, paid family leave and medical leave. Then the household tax credit, pre-kindergarten, tuition-free community college removed, and then weatherizing your house stayed in. Oh boy. So let's go over those items. So weatherizing your house. Definitely need to weatherize your house. If you notice someone in the driveway walking up and you wave and you're like, oh, is that the waivable check? I haven't seen you in ages. Lock the door. No, open the door. You want to unweatherize. Well, no, I don't know which one to be. Weatherize your house, so make sure the check does not trip on the driveway. Good to see you, waivable check. I haven't seen you in a while. If it's Joe Biden driving up in that Maserati with the horrible color, lock the gate right away. Then they got money in there for pre-kindergarten. That's tuition. That's totally free. It is a hard cold cash. They got paid family leave and medical leave. They got that in there. That is hard cold cash. It's a lot of money. Stay with me later in this video. I'll go over the details. Let's go to the second add-on. It comes from Bob Casey. It is a benefit, not a check, and it is incredible. He asked for $250 billion. He did not get it. He got a little bit less. And what is it? It is money for paid home services, medical services. Paid medical home health care will be provided by state and local, funded by the federal government. Price tag a little bit less than $250 billion. Wow. This is for my seniors. This is for my people who are disabled. It is incredible. More about this later in this video. Let's go to the third cluster. Wow. Here, you ready? I'm excited. Let's look at that third cluster. They got in there free school meals for all. Wow. That is $65 a month per child, hard cold cash. They got in there cheaper prescription medication. Not a check. They got immigration reform. That's a benefit. Farmers don't know. Free internet, don't know. Clean energy out. Workers don't know if it survived as well. And then Medicare expansion. Let's go over that detail right now. Medicare expansion involves many things. Some of them got in there and stayed in there. Some of them have not gotten in there after they were passed in the subcommittee. The lowering the eligibility age of Medicare did not get into the House bill, so Bernie's going to take care of it on the Senate side. The dental and vision, not in the House bill. Bernie's going to take care of it on the Senate side. These are what he represents across the board. But the Medicaid gap did get in there. I'll explain that later in this video. And the hearing did get in there as well. Wow. You see how there's a lot of stuff that has to be taken care of on the Senate side? And that is why they're kicking this ball over to the Senate as quickly as possible. That is what's at issue, of course, with that MSC across the board. MSC standing for multiple or monthly IRS stimulus check. And what's at issue is that the senators have a lot to do. Whether it's Ron Wyden or Bernie Sanders, you see the comments coming up later in this video. They say, send over the bill to us in the Senate. We got a lot of work to do. And the opportunity to add this provision, not on the House bill, on the Senate side, is two opportunities. Subcommittee or Votorama. What is Votorama? It's a 2-day event at the very end of the whole process. 2-day event in the Senate where they introduce changes or amendments to things in the House bill. The Votorama historically has been an important part of the American legislative landscape because often the Votorama introduces legislation no one in the House ever talked about. For example, under third stimulus, Chuck Schumer and Mitch and Liz Warren knew the president was about to forgive some student loan debt. Problem, however, the forgiveness of student loan debt is a taxable event. So if $20,000 in student loan debt is forgiven, you have to pay out of your pocket $10,000 approximately to IRS. Ooh, you don't have $10,000. Trouble. So what did Liz and Chuck do? Did a vote-a-rama on the third stimulus, making the forgiveness of student loan debt a tax-free event. Yes. House members never talked about it. House members never put it in their bill. They took it care of during the vote-a-rama. Second opportunity to do this is during Senate subcommittee. There's a lot of work to be done in this recon, it says a couple of senators, and if that's the case, send the recon out of the House to a Senate subcommittee, preferably the budget subcommittee, because that's where Bernie Sanders is chairman. You want to add a lot of provisions, then don't just leave them for 48 hours of work. There's too much to be done, a little bit too problematic. Better to do it during the vote-a-rama, during the subcommittee. And that is why it's important to advocate. When you look at the landscape across the board, there's a lot of stuff to be talking about, and you need to advocate across the board. Have you called those 6 senators? Over the last few weeks, thousands of viewers have been told by 6 senators they want to at least give you one check or multiple checks, and they are Sanders, Schumer, Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden. Have you called 2? Have you called 4? Did one yesterday, do another one today. Avocation involves saying, I need it. My family needs it. Because of this, I want to tell you my story. It's not asking a question. It's not looking or tracking. It's saying why you need it. And the number one guy of the recon with the number one chief of staff had this incredible message to the viewers of this channel that they now in total between congressional senatorial offices receive more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Yes, we are all over 3 million phone calls so far. Not time to stop. Everyone is amazed by the outpouring of touching stories from the LA viewers. Now they have more of a better understanding of what average Americans are going through this pandemic than a bunch of signatures. They have heartbreaking stories they have heartbreaking stories in the LA viewers. And they have the voice of the people in LA. In the nation, you have become too loud to be ignored. Very kind. Let's read the last sentence on air together. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy. As a professional voice of the people, you have become and continue this LA until it becomes law. Absolutely. It's important to advocate because House done in just a few days, well, off to the Senate. And you're going to have 6 people potentially saying they want to have something, and maybe 6 people saying they don't want to give you that something. So there are going to be potential battles. People want to add stuff. People want to remove stuff. People want to not to give you the stuff. So you need to advocate, especially once it gets into that Senate. The second half of this video, we have a lot coming up. We're going to go over that incredible deal from last Friday. And within potentially as early as 48 hours from now, could a vote be happening? We'll go over the calculations. Price is right? Not particularly right, no. No one's going to win the Showcase Showdown out of the House. They're going to look to Bob and say, I just don't know. And we don't really need to know. It's up to the Senate to know. What? I'll explain the details. Programs in, programs out. We're going to go over all these incredible mummies. No, it's mummies. This is not King Tut. No, monies. We're going to go over student loan debt forgiveness. And we're going to give... and we're going to forgive any time we make a mistake in the video. Mummy, no money. Money, not mummy. Mummy, no mum. Oh, stop it. Cola raise your fist. Is going to go up right after that cola raise. I got all those incredible details and more as we go into the second half of this video. I'll be back. Video, not video. What's with me and bees today? Just video. I'll be back in a bit after the video, and I'll be back with you in Bixie seconds. Stay here for Boar. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. home. LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on a big new Mornings LALATE as a deal was unearthed on Friday that sends that recon to a rubber stamp vote within as early as 48 hours from now. Price is Right, not so much. They have no idea what the price is, but they know the programs. We're going to go over the incredible programs that are in this recon for purpose of the House, and then the programs that are going to be added into the Senate, we'll be covering those as well. Get that pen and paper ready, because there's a lot of money in this incredible recon for you. Then, student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board, and then that COLA raise, those details as well. As we go into a big morning's broadcast, I'm excited you're here. The excitement's kicking in, and it's a big, beautiful day here in Santa Monica, California. I'm excited you're here. And this, my friends, is LALATE, America's most talked about financial news network. Live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is a full slate of programming throughout the day. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers and 140 million viewers. Like this video and consider becoming a member. Let's go right into the details of what is happening this week and what happened last Friday. Beginners, advanced, just found this channel, a longtime viewer. Let me make it very basic because it's complicated for even the most sophisticated viewer across the board. We have two bodies of legislation, very different with different names. On my left hand is the roads and bridges, also called infrastructure. No money in there for you. It's about roads. The second body of legislation is your money. It's called recon or reconciliation or budget bill or social spending program. It passes by only Democratic vote, does not need a single Republican vote. That's why it's called reconciliation. We have two different parts of the Democratic caucus. We have the progressives who love the recon, and we have the moderates who love the roads and bridges. Neither of those factions dislike the other body legislation. They dislike theirs more than the other. Last Friday, Nancy Pelosi did as what she does in the House better than anyone else. For decades, this has been her biggest achievement across the board, is reaching agreements in difficult times. And last Friday, she reached a huge deal. Makes no sense because it is so good. Let me explain you how good the deal was. Going into late Friday, she was attempting to call a vote on the roads and on the recon, but there was a problem. Moderate Democrats said, if you call a vote on the recon first, we will vote against it. And then the progressives said, if you call a vote on the roads and bridges first, we'll vote against that. So how do you solve two brothers and sisters fighting about basically the same thing in reverse? You get an agreement. And boy, is this a good one. She got the moderate Democrats to raise their hand and vote on the record, congressional record, and then put in paper and sign in writing with their name, and also do it on television, face-to-face with the progressives, the following agreement. The moderate Democrats will categorically, emphatically vote in favor of the recon after congressional budget report is released no later than November 15th, the week of November 15th. Wow, that's a lot in that sentence. Let's slow it down and go over each of the parts of that sentence. First, the moderate Democrats agreed to vote in favor of the recon as soon as a congressional budget report is released. To which you would say, so does that mean if the report is bad, they can vote against the recon? No. The language that they agreed to is that they will agree to the recon, even if the report is bad. The progressives and Nancy saw that coming a mile away. They said, no, you're going to vote in favor of the recon, even if the report is bad. So why the report then? My thinking is they want to send the report over to the Senate with the passed House bill and have the Senate take care of it. Okay, what is this report? It's by the Congressional Budget Office. They're a nonpartisan organization that looks at proposed legislation and determines how much it costs, how much of the deficit will go, and how much programs are. Okay, and what's that last part of the sentence? No later than the week of November 15th. Now, that does not mean on November 15th. It does not mean just the week of November 15th. It means no later than that week. So when and how would we get this to a vote? Well, that brings us to the next question. How soon can we get this Congressional Budget Office report? The Congressional Budget Office report is dependent upon when they ordered it. I've been covering it since early Tuesday last week when Senator Menendez said, we need this report right now. If they had ordered it last Tuesday, which they may have, the report may be released as early as today. If the report is released as early as today, then what? Steny Hoyer, who's the majority leader in the House, would say, you're back in session to vote. Let's go with that word in session. In session refers to the room on the House of Representatives floor when they vote. It's a room. It's closed when they're not in session. If they're not in session like they are right at the moment, that doesn't mean they're out of town. That does not mean they're at Mitch's Lobster Fest. No, it means the room is closed and the key is in Nancy's hair. Does it improve it? No, it doesn't really improve it. But it means that they're just not in that room. Steny Hoyer will order them back in session within 24 hours and they'll vote and they'll be done. Because remember, this is a rubber stamp vote. So, could the report be issued today? It could be issued as early as today. If they ordered it last week, we will see. But what I've been telling viewers since last weekend is, you know what? You know Nancy since September. She loves to vote at midnight on Thursday nights. I don't know what's with midnight, and I don't know what's with Thursdays and her and voting. But I guess maybe since a young little child, Mommy, it's Thursday night. We got to vote on something. Honey, it's midnight. Can you go to bed? No, it's time to vote. I'm going to always vote on Thursday night for the rest of my life about something. We're going to vote on My Little Pony versus Care Bears. Referring to Mitch? No, absolutely not. No caring there. So there you go. Do I think you should take a nap on Thursday? I think you should. So that is potentially when the vote could happen, if not next week. Price is right? Not really. No one really knows what this recon price is. But the details is that the Congressional Budget Report will tell us that. And they're not going to hold up the vote based upon what the report says. Whatever it says, they're calling the vote and they're done. Off to the Senate. Now, you and I know that the recon is not 1.75 anymore. It was 1.75 2 weeks ago when 3 provisions were added. And I said, as soon as they add those 3 provisions, we're going up. And they did add those 3 provisions. And they were paid leave, $200 billion. That's bringing us to 1.95. Then they added SALT. They added in there the money for cheaper prescription medication. So we're at least at $2 trillion. Well, the Joint Taxation Committee report released last Thursday, a Democratic caucus said that the recon, $500 billion of it, is unpaid for, contradicting the president's statements from even last weekend, saying it's 100% paid for. That is why they're waiting for that report. Let's read the official statement from the moderate Democrats that they raised their hand and voted on. We commit to voting in favor of the recon in its current format as expeditiously as we receive the fiscal report from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, but no later than the week of November 15th. So there you go. So programs in, programs out. We're going to go over all those incredible programs little by little in this video starting right now. Get that pen and paper ready. And the first program we're going to go over that got in there is the paid leave. Paid leave pays a fortune. We're going to go over what is paid leave, then we're going to go over how much it pays, and then we're going to go over the eligibility. Paid leave, family leave, what is it? You have to stay home because of the birth of a child or the sickness or illness or death of a family member or yourself, household member yourself. What are examples of this? Well, your wife is giving birth tomorrow, or your son broke his leg, or you pulled your ankle playing pickup basketball last weekend. You may have had something like this happen to you in the last year. This is you. It's not COVID illnesses. It's just illnesses in general that happen. Okay, how much does it pay? A lot. Under third stimulus is supposed to pay $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year, $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year, $400 a week if you make $15,000 a year. Whoa. How many weeks? Up to 4 weeks. Oh boy. 4 times $1,700, yeah, that's $5,000, $6,000. 4 times $1,400, $400, yeah, that is $1,600. It's a lot of money. And the best part of it is the final part. It's for all workers. Whoa. The eligibility that Nancy Pelosi did for paid leave and family leave is all income levels. So let's say you make 6 figures. It's you. Let's say you make $20,000 a year. It's you. It's also all W-2 and all 1099, all types of workers. So let's say you're an Uber Lyft driver who makes $25,000 a year, you would get this check from the federal government. It's hard cold cash. Let's say you work at a department store as a manager and you make $100,000 a year. Single individual, that is yours. Hard cold cash. And it's up to 4 weeks a year. Wow. That is the first of three items of checks. Last week, we started with not in the recon. I said would go in there, and they did go in there. The second add-on is SALT. SALT is a very unusual provision a lot of people know about. I did not know about, so I started covering on this channel. When you go to pay taxes on your state or local tax return, you pay a certain amount of money, potentially. Then when you go over to pay your IRS tax return that same year, you can deduct the amount you paid on state and local taxes. Now, let's say your state and local taxes this year is $15,000. When you go to pay your federal tax return, can you itemize that $15,000 as a deduction? You cannot, because under the 2017 tax code change under the Trump administration, you only deduct up to $10,000. Now the moderate Democrats, led by Gothenheimer, got a provision in there that raises that number to $72,500. You can now deduct on your federal tax return under SALT for state and local taxes you can pay. A big lift from just $10,000. There you go. Well, what else is in this recon that is really a big shocker? $40 billion of free job training. A lot of viewers are very excited about this. You would hope they will pay for the big items like truck drivers and pilots. $40 billion of free job training. Okay, here comes a great provision on this recon. The Medicare gap fix. Very confusing provision. Let me slow it down on this one. When Obamacare was rolled out across the country, every citizen across the country was eligible for it and got it. But there were 12 states called the 12 holdout states where the governors are Republicans, where their citizens could get it and got it, but the governors did not want to pay the federal government for it. Joe Manchin, myself, and a lot of people saw this as a problem. You have to have every state pay for the stuff when they're using the stuff. So the great work of Raphael Warnock, Democrat Senator, Georgia, and Jim Claymore, Democrat Senator from the Carolinas, got the idea. They did a workaround plan to offer years of subsidized private insurance to low-income people in those 12 states. Incredible. Immigration reform. There is immigration reform in the recon. There will be not a single penny going to an immigrant. There's also no money going to immigrants in the roads and bridges. But there's a certain broadcast channel where an animal is the name of the channel. And that channel is reporting a fake story that there's $400,000 checks in the recon for immigrants. Untrue. So where are they getting this from? During the Trump administration, thousands of immigrants were separated, children and parents at the border, their families. Then just a few hundred, filed lawsuits in federal court. Those few hundred lawsuits in federal court have plaintiff lawyers asking to settle the case. If the case is settled, the settlement is not coming out of the recon. It's not coming out of the roads and bridges. It's just coming out of the federal government somewhere else, not out of this money. How much are they asking? $400,000. It's just a settlement demand. It's not being paid. In fact, the president said, I'm not paying that amount of money, but I will settle the cases, he says. Then housing aid. Wow, this is exciting. So if you've been a viewer of this channel since December, October, November of last year, you know what this is. In fall of last year, I showed people the big money to get for rent and utilities and mortgage assistance under second stimulus. It was hard. It was very hard at that time because there wasn't a lot of money in that recon for it. Then, as soon as third stimulus became law, I launched the Purple Hawks List Challenge to describe being able to pounce, and get this money before anyone else. Because first come, first serve. Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. The average view on this channel, when including SNAP as well, has gotten about $45,000 from that under third stimulus. And a lot have gotten over $100,000. That is with housing under third stimulus having a $47 billion provision. Guess how much housing has under fourth stimulus? $150 billion. Yes. So that means you'll be able to get another round of rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. You don't have to necessarily be behind on your bills across the board. People are already getting second or third rounds of it under third stimulus. Get ready to get it under fourth stimulus. And we're just getting started there. The weatherizing your home, the home repairs, and also the first-time home purchases got in there as well. I've been telling viewers, if you have a complicated, advanced, intellectual, difficult question, send to me on private message on social media, and I may feature your answer on air. Well, you've been sending some great questions. First, about the first time home purchases. We've been getting questions about what the first time is, what the home is, and the income level. First, what is the first time? One person said, bought a house first time with my husband, got divorced. I want to buy a house myself as a single individual in my first time. Very interesting. We got to see the definition of first time when we see the legislation. That one's too hard to predict. Then Ryan asks, home, does it mean a particular type of home? Well, we know it's single family home. It's not an apartment building or a commercial building or a warehouse. But we don't know if it's any type of home. We presume it is. Ryan was asking about a mobile home. It presumably is any type of home, whether it is a condo or a townhouse, house or mobile house. So that's what we presume, but we have to see the legislation. And then income levels. We don't know if there's any disqualification for certain income levels. We presume not, but we still, of course, have to see that. Then the home repairs, getting some questions about that one as well. The home repairs, one person was asking about a roof repair. That's exactly what Forced Stimulus is thinking about. For repairs in a low-income community home, yes, things like a roof repair is obvious. This would likely be hard cold cash checks upfront, grant checks. Now, how about weatherize your home? That is not low income only. It's any type of home. People have been asking questions about that. Weatherize your home is things that sustain natural disasters like hurricane windows in Florida. You can see how I'm struggling with this because I'm not in the hurricane zone here in Los Angeles. There are no hurricanes here, thank goodness. But that is an example of things. Now, when we look at third stimulus with the nonprofits, you can get small nominal repairs like a window glass broken, $100 to $150 repairs to make sure you're not cold or wet or draft. But under third stimulus and certainly under the nonprofits, they're not going to pay for a $35,000 new roof. So that's slightly different across the board. There you see, great questions. Then a wonderful question came in with one viewer for the next provision, in-home healthcare. For my seniors and people on disabilities, free home healthcare to you. One viewer said, what about the care provider? Do they get anything more? Well, some of the language says that they will have a better quality of work. We'll see that more across the board. I don't know yet, but that is a wonderfully thoughtful question. Thank you for that one as well. Let's go to the third provision that was added on last week, and is cheaper prescription medication. If there were two things I could do, I would shake the president's hand for doing this provision. It is a big win, the biggest win of the recon. And also tell him, can you fire your press team for not telling the American people you got this in there? Well, let's go over what this is. We're going to back it up 20 years ago. 20 years ago when Medicare was rolled out, its charter agreement basically said, whatever pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, want to charge you for medication, you have to pay it. You can't negotiate big Medicare. So I asked viewers on Mornings LA Saturday morning, how much do you pay for insulin if you're on Medicare? Mark's wife pays $900 plus. Mary or Kathy said $500, $700 plus per dose. Under the agreement the president got, $35 a dose. I mean, this is huge. So what happened? For 20 plus years, Big Pharma with 15-page lobbyists blocked Congress from ever changing the status quo. They loved it. They stuck it to us with any price they wanted to charge. Bernie Sanders says every year senators tried to change this, couldn't do it. And who did it? Joseph Biden. 2 Wednesdays ago, picked up the phone and did the best thing he ever does, which is negotiate. He's very good at negotiating. And he's very emphatic. And he picked up the phone and called Kristen Sinema and said, Kristen, it's been weeks, it's been months, and you've been not on board with this. You've got to come on board with this. And she did. He got the agreement from her. She blessed it, and she's blessed in the whole rest of the recon across the board. And this is a great achievement for this president. It's also a horrible moment for his press team because they should have had this all over broadcast media. Instead, what they ran was the Rome climate. Now, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, after the roads and bridges was passed, guess what Democratic analyst says? Americans need to see things they could tangibly feel the result in their hands. You will feel the result in your hands when this becomes law, when you pay $35 for insulin, and the week before that you paid $900. You will physically see that impact. You will not see the impact of a Rome climate agreement in your hand this year. And this is why that press team made a big error and not telling people the big financial burden that this has put on your life is gone as soon as this becomes law, and the president got that agreement among all House among all Democrats, including all senators. Wow. So let's go to the calculation. Immediately after this becomes law, 20 plus medications will be discounted due to good faith negotiations between Medicare and Big Pharma. These are the biggest medications. These are the most expensive, not the $10 headache medication. No, this is arthritis and cancer and diabetes, big discounts across the board. It'll grow to 30 medications by the year 2028 and the inflation rate will only be tied to, only be tied to an inflation rate per year. This is Medicare Part B and Medicare Part D for my seniors. Ron Wyden says, for the first time in history, government does not have its hands tied behind its back. Chuck Schumer says, you know what? I'm going to come back and take a bite out of the apple on this next year as well. This is what Chuck is great at. He says, we're going to do this, but get ready for next year because we're going to do it again. He's going to make it even better next year. Scott Peters says, is this really good for seniors? It is. Dick Durbin praised it. Jan Skakowski said, as a Democratic Illinois legislator, said, you know what? I'm glad we got this done, and this was hard to do with so many lobbyists. Potentially this week, we'll see the fate of two provisions of this recon because of the Senate parliamentarian. Who is she? She's a government official. She's not a party person. She's a government official, lifetime. And her job is look at the rules of reconciliation, the rules of the Senate, and say, this provision can't go by recon. Sorry, take it out. Take it out, but the money stays in there, but take the provision out. And what are those two provisions that are in jeopardy? First, immigration reform, and second provision is the paid leave. Immigration reform, she's previously ruled it doesn't belong in there. My prediction is coming out. Paid leave, I don't know. 50% of the people say it needs to come out. Now, what's important to understand is that price tag 1.75, not so quickly, because a lot of provisions you already seen have been added, and more are going to be added, and that's what Bernie Sanders, Ron Wyden, a lot of senators have been saying. Countless senators says get ready for that recon allowed in the Senate because a lot of changes are happening. That's why you really want that subcommittee. Bernie said over a week ago, it's the best bill since the 1960s, but major gaps still exist. Those gaps still exist for Bernie. When asked, you can add provisions. Of course, I'm going to add provisions. People need to have their dental and vision taken care of. It's inconceivable that they don't. Ron Wyden says it's not done to the Senate's deals. It's not a done deal to the Senate acts. And he says there's a significant amount still to do. Coons, Jolipal, AOC, Chuck, in Senator Murphy, all say get ready for the Senate to get it because the Senate's going to make changes. All right, get that pen and paper ready. We're going to go over more items across the board, and we're starting with them right now. And the incredible thing I want to go over right now is the payout of these items one at a time. Universal pre-K. Universal pre-K got into this incredible recon. That universal pre-K is a hard call check for 3 to 4 year olds, and it will pay 1 year. The earned income tax credit got in there. That is a back end check. The child tax credit, hard call cash check got in there, but mine don't show as $60,000 household income. They show as $150,000. Again, this is $3,600 to $3,000 a person. Home health care got in there for my seniors. This is a covered benefit. And then the hearing care got in there. That is potentially a hard cold check or otherwise a covered benefit. We got that big money for housing, construction, repair, improvement, first-time home purchases, rent, mortgage assistance. We got that's all hard cold checks. Pell's Grant all up front as well. $550 for college students currently. A great question I got from someone yesterday. They were a Pell's Grant recipient previously. Will they get it? The way the language is looking is during this year. So if you're currently enrolled, absolutely. If you're enrolled this year but are no longer enrolled, that's the sort of hard one. If you were enrolled last year and no longer student, absolutely not. No, that's not covered. $65 a child per child when you're not in school. Yes, that is hard cold cash check across the board. What programs could still go into this recon? We know that from Bernie. 3 provisions that he is not happy because they're still not in there, and they are lowering Medicare eligibility age and then dental and vision. He says we're the wealthiest country in the globe and we don't have money for our teeth and cannot hear and cannot see. So let's go over each of them. First, Bernie wants to drop the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 55. Bob Casey wants to drop it to 60. I think they're still at play. But when we talk about the dental and the Vision, those were both last checks, hard-cold checks in that recon before they fell out from the House members. First, dental. It was last at $850 checks in the mail to you, but now it's out. What is dental? Bernie wanted it as lifetime, and wanted it for 10 years, all benefits covered. Then 3 years, all benefits covered, but at last was that $850 check. I see it going in there. Then the vision. This one's an easy one. This seems like a no-brainer. It's so cheap. Why not put it in there? Of the three, it's the cheapest provision. It's also the simplest provision. Bernie wants eyeglasses and an eye exam per year. Okay, that's pretty easy. Eye exam, $50. Pair of glasses, $100. For example, $150. Send the check out every year to seniors on Medicare, Medicaid. Done. Very, very easy. I see it happening. We're going to see that and more. Now let's go over some of my notes from this recon, see where things don't add up or do add up. Well, child tax credit, I showed $60,000 household or less. I don't show $150. Then in-home healthcare, they got that in there, $100 to $200 billion. Wow. They got in there the housing aid, $175, yes, and the clean energy out, and the child care. Wow. My opinion of the situation, commentary coming up in a second. Let's turn over to that student loan debt forgiveness. More student loan debt could be forgiven across the board. That is $10,000 the president's offered. He previously forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation, then people who went to work in the nonprofit sector 10 years after graduation, and then people who went to work in the public sector 10 years after graduation, city, county, state, federal government. Democrats should take that $10,000 offer. It's not the final, but they should take that for now by executive order. Fifth stimulus is coming right behind COLA. Did you get that letter? Your benefits are going up 5.9% next January, this coming January. But right after that could be fifth stimulus. Democrats say they're still doing it. It will raise your benefits up one time. Thereafter, this is a second lift. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, Veterans benefits, then it will apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark is inflation. And Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, says the benchmark will be, for the inflation rate will be 2 to 3% December 2022. I've been saying the same number for a while. This is huge, which would mean you would have 1, 2, 3 lift ups in just 1 year. They're going to remove the asset cap, and they're going to remove the income cap as well. And there you go. They'll also remove the marriage penalty. Finally, my commentary about the situation across the board. As we look at this recon, what should we think going forward? Well, it's important to look at this whole landscape of the situation. The president did a great job with those negotiations and can continue to do a great job across the board. And what's important to understand is the three verbs that we've seen across the landscape, and I've been covering on this channel the last few days. Those verbs are promised, predicted, and said. Promised. When a legislative body passes a body of law on one side, it's not a promise, it's just an effort. In Nancy Pelosi's case in 2020, she passed the HEROES Act, a massive bill in the spring of 2020 that would have paid you a lot of money. $10,000 for hazard pay, $50,000, the CDC grant, the $10,000 EIDL grant, lots of grants, and this grant and that grant. It landed in the Senate, and the Senate was controlled by Mitch McConnell at the time, and he took it and threw it in the garbage can. Did she promise to give you the money? No. Did she make the effort? Absolutely. The fact that Mitch threw in the garbage can, is that her fault? No, it's not her fault. I report all the provisions in there. My reporting is what she's doing. And I also reported that Mitch threw it in the garbage can. Now, the next word is predictions. There's a lot of ways to predict things, but often predictions are wrong. We don't know what the Senate parliamentarian is going to do. So when we look at the landscape, things can change across the board. But the most problematic word we often hear is, they said that. When they say something, that's what they want to do. They're not talking about other legislators. We have hundreds of House members and we have dozens of senators that are Democrats. And when John Paul says, I want to call the vote on the recon before the roads and bridges, it doesn't mean when it doesn't happen, she didn't mean it. It means that she faced oppositions from Gothenheimer, the moderate Democrats, which said, I'm not going to let that happen. When Nancy passed the $10,000 hazard pay in 2020, it doesn't mean she didn't want that to happen. It means that Mitch McConnell didn't want it to happen. Over the last few weeks, we've had 6 senators tell thousands of viewers they want to give you at least one stimulus check. I've had viewers reach out and advocate in the last 24 hours and got the same representation again from those same 6 senators. Their names are Sanders, Schumer, Casey, Coons, Warren, Wyden. That's 6. Now, let's remember, if you look at the landscape of the Senate, 6 senators could want to give that to you and can attempt to give it to you. But it only takes one senator to say, you know what, I'm not really interested in doing that. We're not going to do that. And just because those 6 people said for weeks and weeks they're going to give it to you doesn't mean they didn't make the effort. It means there's one guy or one gal that said, no, I'm not going to do it for you. That's what's important to understand. My job as a reporter here is to report what they say. And if they can't deliver it because a Mitch McConnell takes Nancy's bill and throws in the wastebasket in summer 2020, it doesn't mean that Nancy Pelosi didn't want to help you. It doesn't mean that the event never happened on the House. It means that the guy in the Senate threw it in the wastebasket. If you have 6 senators who want to do something for you and make the effort, but ultimately one senator doesn't, and it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean they didn't want to help you. Doesn't mean that isn't what they said. It means that one guy didn't let it happen. Over the last few weeks, we've learned how important this was when we look at like the cheaper prescription medication. We didn't have that on board with Kristen Sinema blocking it. Once the president got her to agree to it, then it was on board. But until that moment, it was not happening. At the moment, we don't have vision and we don't have hearing in there. Vision and dental in there. Bernie says he wants to put both things in there. If ultimately we go through this entire process and one person blocks Bernie from putting vision and dental in there, it doesn't mean Bernie didn't say what he meant or do what he said. It means there was one guy who, unfortunately, prevented Bernie from doing it. When you have a lot of people have to agree upon something, unfortunately, 1 or 2 people can prevent something from happening. For now, we have a really good bill, but the really good bill can be made better. That's my words, and that's Bernie's word. And what's important to understand is you need to continue to advocate across the board with a recon that pays you a lot of money, but we can still get more money in there as well. As soon as the bill lands in the Senate, it is going to be a hot potato and a lot to cover, and I will be here throughout the incredible process. We'll see how quickly that congressional budget report is released, and if it's released in the next 48 hours, very fascinating. We just don't know. Fascinating, unsolved mystery of the CBO. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this channel and part of this incredible, loving community. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Join me next with shows throughout the day and also later today as well, and later tomorrow as well. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful morning, and thank you for joining me on Mornings LA.